Minister of the FCT, Nyesom Wike, and suspended Rivers State Governor Siminalayi Fubara has resolved to end their political feud following a peace meeting brokered by President Bola Tinubu at the presidential villa, Abuja. After the closed-door meeting, Wike announced that all parties had agreed to work together in the interest of unity and peace in the state. We are members of the same political family. Disagreements happen, but we've agreed to move on, he said. Fubara echoed the sentiment, pledging to do his utmost to maintain peace, which he described as crucial for the state's development. With the support of Mr. President and our leaders, peace has returned to Rivers State, he affirmed. The reconciliation meeting was attended by political stakeholders, including the suspended Speaker of the State Assembly, Honorable Martins Amehule, APC and PDP state chairman, and other top figures. President Tinubu had earlier declared a state of emergency in Rivers State in March 2025 due to political unrest, appointing Admiral Ebok Ebas, retired, as interim administrator. Otto, what do you make of these developments in Rivers State political crisis?
Absolute beauty of politics. You know, we have been clamoring for peace, knowing fully well that peace brings sustainable development, fast-track infrastructural development, help in stabilizing governance, and encourage others to come into politics, so that knowing fully well that politics is all about peace and peace. You see, I have always told people that Nyesom Wike and Siminalayi Fubara will come to agreement. In every political family, there's always disagreement. Even in your own immediate family, there is disagreement. But the singular act of looking for a way to phantom peace into that disagreement is an exceptional act between both parties. I give it up to Fubara for being able to look towards the development of Rivers State, jettison all political affiliation, look away from persons who might even people who might even instigate him to go against his political father and his political godfather, as per se, in the media. You know, and I also want to give it to Nyesom Wike for always doing the needful when it mattered most. President Bola Tinubu cannot be taken away from the conversation, because for peace to have returned to Rivers State, President Bola Tinubu played a crucial role. If you watch in Tinubu's statement, he said that he'll declare the state of emergency in Rivers State because of the interest of the governor, not the interest of anybody, that the governor would have been impeached. If the governor had been impeached, we wouldn't have been talking about peace today. Definitely we would be talking about election, whereby people will be campaigning, and that will also lead to wastage of resources. We would have been out of the election year.
Off-cycle election.
Yes, off-cycle election, and that would have been wastage of Rivers State resources, whether I like it or not. But for the peace to have returned in Rivers State, I want to call on all political gladiators in Rivers State to please try as much as possible to jettison anything they have done to them. Even if me sitting down here, I've erred against the governor, I've erred against his political cronies, I've erred against every other person. But what we need now is peace in Rivers State. If you look at it, we have been backward. Take it or you leave it. If you watch Lagos State is striving every day. They are making headway. Akwa Ibom has followed suit. While Rivers State, we are here talking about emergency and not emergency.
Probably because Lagos State had a way of mending fences early enough. Lagos State House of Assembly had their own crisis, right? But to a large extent, you didn't see a clear interference of the executive in the issues, you know, within the Lagos State House of Assembly. Even the governors, the governing council also had their run-in. Everybody had their interest, and you had the case of Miranda and the forces behind her. You had the case of Obasa and the forces behind Obasa. You also had the case of the issue between Obasa and Sanwo-Olu at some point when he came to present the budget. So Lagos State has not been immune to crisis, but one would say Lagos State had a way of resolving their issues quickly, and they didn't allow it to exacerbate.
Laresha, that is what I'm talking about. You see, I think if it was just a case between the ex-governor, Nyesom Wike, and the present governor, being the suspended governor, His Excellency His Excellency Siminalayi Fubara, it wouldn't have been an issue that will escalate to the media that much. But if you watch what really happened, the political supporters also created room for that. They aided the crisis in Rivers State. Now, watch what happened in Lagos State. There was a kind of, restriction. It was just between Miranda and Abbas releasing releasing press statement on and off. They were just the one doing it, or their media aid. You said the executive governor of Lagos State never interfered. He stayed away from it. I
said there was no clear. Like,
I am coming. I am trying to clear a point.
Doesn't mean that he wasn't there.
See, he was there, but if you look at it critically, he wasn't coming to the press to release any press statement aiding one particular side. He tried as much as possible to refrain from that act. But in Rivers State, we all aided it. You will see one political leader will be on radio tomorrow talking the one he knows, and the other one will be on television tomorrow saying the one he knows. And at the end of the day, it all boils down to, oh, he's been sent by the minister, oh, he's been sent by the governor. But thank God, as they say, peace is priceless. And here we are today. Peace has been broken up by the president, and I think we are going to enjoy the peace. For now, we don't even know what they have in stock for us. What they have in stock for us is good, just like the Bible. For I know I'll give you expected end. You understand? I will give you expected end. And I know Siminalayi Fubara has really done well within the space of time he spent in office before being suspended. We can't rule out that possibility. So I want to call on him that if he comes back, he should be able to look at those roads that are not functional, because that is why we are clamoring for peace. If there is peace, he will be able to look into that, like the Cornerstone Road, the Mbaraja Road. Nothing is happening there. Not that I'm trying to make an advert or calling for him to come and to come and reconstruct the road, but the needful had to be done, and that is why we say peace should return.
All right, very well. Also joining me on Open Conversation this morning to look into different issues, as it were, is Fineface Dumnamene. Fineface Dumnamene is Director, Advocacy Center. Good morning, Fineface, and
thank you, Laresha.
It's a pleasure having you today.
It's been a while.
Yes, it's been a while, Fineface.
Very long time.
Yes, it has. And now, Fineface, I want to get your position, your view on the current development, in Rivers State crisis, the reconciliation between the warring factions, between the FCT minister's camp and then the suspended governor. What is your take on that?
Yeah, my take is that generally it's a welcome development. We all look forward to a time of peace. We cannot continue to war all the time. And I know quite well that war is also a way of diplomatizing the process of peace. But then this is what we look forward to. And it seems to be an emergency peace, I must say, because
emergency peace,
because we were looking forward to a process whereby we'll be hearing of meetings between the suspended governor and the state assembly, meetings between the state assembly and the FCT minister, meetings where three of them will come together, but all those processes were not followed. So there was an emergency process of all of them coming together. The next thing we hear is the next morning, the peace has been brokered, and it's a good thing.
But you have reservations.
A lot of reservations.
What are your reservations?
My reservations are that the peace we currently have is like a marriage of convenience. It's not a true peace. It's a peace that is forced on someone. It's a peace of surrendering. It's like the suspended governor surrendered, that whatever you want, I'm ready, let there be peace. And he has been saying it, that there is no price that is too much for him to pay for peace to return. And he has paid the price now. And the price he currently paid, for which we are having in Rivers State today, is like from fry pan to fire.
Why do you say that?
What the conditionalities that brought him to office is better than the conditionalities of the peace that we currently have. This one is worse than what brought him to power. So it's like a double punishment.
Now, when you say the conditions that brought him into power, can you state the conditions that
well, we are not.
Are you privy?
We are not privy officially to those conditionalities.
Okay, so probably we should be looking at the ones we are privy to, which
exactly.
is the peace pact.
No, the peace pact is there. The 8-point agenda is there. But before the 8-point agenda, we know. I have been very prominent in the media in this state for the past, since 2012 to date. Over 13 years I've been prominent in the media. But to a very large extent, the person that became our governor is not somebody I knew, sadly. He was picked. We all know how he emerged. He also cited why he was talking to his supporters days ago, that we cannot, rule out the role a FCT minister played. He didn't want to say it clearly out, how he brought him to office. Because those are the things they put on the table to him. You know how you came to office. And certain agreement must have been entered, which, because he never kept them, led to the crisis. Right. And then there was the 8-point agenda from Mr. President, which he obeyed some and didn't holistically implement the rest, leading to more crisis. So what we now have as a peace pact from the little we have known is worse than even the one that brought him to office and the 8-point agenda.
Do you have any idea of
Yes, of course, we have ideas. So from what he has said, while he was addressing his supporters, he said the conditions are heavy. They are not only heavy, he also said they are bitter. So that alone.
But that is ambiguous. Like
bitter and heavy.
Vague. You can't
yes.
place a hand.
The point is that we have seen some documents. We have read through some documents. We have read through some conditionalities. But since they are not coming officially from them, like we had the 8-point agenda, it's difficult to really discuss it.
All right.
But we know generally that whatever the conditions are, we also know that there may also be a clause for it not to be disclosed by him, because the last time that the 8-point was disclosed led Rivers State into fire. But clearly speaking, from what we have seen and what we know, now we know that local government election will be conducted before he comes into office. And that was the structure that led to the problem in the first instance. We are aware that the budget is being approved by the sole administrator, by the president, will soon be signed by this week. As soon as Mr. President returns from St. Lucius, that will be signed. And then operation will start. We also know that for that to happen, a lot of losses would have been recorded between the 6 months that he's out of office, because we are expecting him back in office despite the resolution around September, October. Maybe on October 1, we might hear the announcement bringing him to office. But generally speaking, when you look at the conditionalities that are attached to this peace process, which to an extent, because what I see here is a marriage of convenience and something that over time is going to burst open. It's going to burst open in the sense that a lot of his supporters now are having their fundamental right as enshrined in the Constitution Section 4 being withheld.
How do you mean? What fundamental right?
Yes, a lot of them are not going to speak. They know a lot, but they can't speak.
When you say fundamental
right to expression, association,
is there anybody
speech
saying they shouldn't associate or they shouldn't speak?
Yes, of course. The governor, before now, he told the supporters not to take any public action without his clearance. That is to restrict the rights of your supporters. And that's fundamental right being violated. Another person cannot deny you your right to speak, to express yourself, to associate. Now, we are also hearing as part of the agreement that the Simplify movement should be disbanded and GDI should stand.
Who said Simplify movement?
We have heard that.
Who gave the instruction?
It's part of their peace agreements. I don't just want to be mentioning things.
Yes,
okay? And he has told the supporters, during his supporters say, he made it clear to them that it's heavy, they should abide by it. And to tell you that that movement has been suppressed and the supporters are not going to speak or be able to really express themselves, the suspended governor told the supporters, giving them a parable of a fish that hide inside the mud. In Opopo, he made that clear. I can't really pick what he said there, but he said there is a type of tilapia in Opopo that hide inside the mud. So that was a picture of what to tell them, that you have to hide your face and hide everything and take it, because it is heavy and bitter and he doesn't really want to disclose it to them. So, but generally we are happy that what we have is going to lead us to the restoration of democracy in Rivers State, because I've been advocating for there to be restoration of democratic structure. It's very fundamental. No matter how he emerged as governor, it's not different from what and how other people emerge in Nigeria as governor. We are all aware of the prebenda politics that is played in Nigeria and other third world countries. So, but what we have in Rivers State is overbearing compared to what we do have. The Lagos State system that is making the Lagos State to run till today, Tinubu, despite being president, is still controlling certain things in Lagos State. It's not different from what is in Rivers State. But the person in charge and trying to put himself the Jagaban of Rivers State is making it to be overbearing on the governor, which he couldn't bear. And the peace we have now, there is no tendency that it will be sustained in 2027.
All right, very well. You've made certain statements that I think Otto wanted to react to one. I'll still give him the floor to react to that. But before I give him the floor, I'm interested in the last statement you made. You know, your last submission when you said that what we have in Rivers State is overbearing, and that the person who wanted to install himself as the Jagaban of Rivers State has made it overbearing for the suspended governor. one would say that no gun was pointed to the governor's head when he chose to act unconstitutionally. Because, I mean, one would say that Rivers State has been governed without a legislative arm. And, you know, when people say return of democracy, emergency, what is going on, the emergency in Rivers State is undemocratic. One would say, how is the executive singularly ruling a state without the legislature democratic? I find that very, very worrisome. How it is okay for us to, you know, in the military regime, the military was serving as the executive. Then we had the judiciary. But there was no legislature in the military regime. That was the difference between the military regime and democratic regime, is the existence of the legislative arm of government. And in Rivers State, what we had prior to emergency rule was what one could say was similar to that. Just the difference is that the state governor was democratically elected and he's not a military officer. But there was no legislative arm of government. So when you say that it was overbearing on the governor did a lot of things that were very, very unconstitutional, and we don't have a problem with that. Now, you talked about the 2025 budget to be presented by the sole administrator, to be passed by the National Assembly. You recall that one of the major issues in court, the protracted issue, was the refusal of the state governor to present the 2024 budget to the House of Assembly led by Martin Samihuli, even when a lower court and an appellate court gave judgment to that effect. In fact, the ruling by the lower court was an order of mandamus, if you go and read the CTC copy of that particular judgment, and that was not obeyed. So how is it okay? And to further put the governor, the suspended governor at that time, further, you know, made a caricature of the judiciary by not just refusing to submit the 2024 budget to the House of Assembly. In 2025, chose to present the 2025 budget to an even lesser number of, you know, a forum of friends, as it were. How do you make that make it make sense to me, in line with your position?
Yeah, Laurentia, you see, you are bringing us back to the crisis and the issues.
No, you had to go back, but you didn't give a holistic view.
I will give you a background to the issues.
All right, go ahead.
From the perspective of you saying that, you know, the governor was acting maybe outside the ambit of the law, you know, things like that. Remember, on October 30, 2023, when the impeachment came forward, when this crisis started, the governor asked a question that has not been answered till today. What is my offense? That question has not been answered by anybody till today. But in-house, they must have told him what his offense or offenses are. So, putting that apart, when this whole crisis of impeachment or no impeachment, bombing of the state assembly, destruction of the legislature, and all of that started, that was when the crisis started. And as a result of that, within themselves, there was a division in the legislature. You have one faction this way, you have one faction this way. And there were court judgment from the Rivers State High Court telling him not to recognize this part and recognize this part. Those things were there. Most of those actions that he took that are now being interpreted as him not obeying court orders, court rules, or the rule of law, whatever, were directives from a court of competent jurisdiction until the Supreme Court now made pronouncement. And before the Supreme Court made pronouncement, there were still court judgments making him to recognize and work with the three-man assembly led by Martins. I mean,
there was no court judgment to that effect.
There was a judgment from State High Court.
You could say
from the State High Court.
It wasn't a judgment. Go back and do your research. It was never.
It was a ruling, but the pronouncement came from a court.
Hold on. It was an ex parte order that had a lifeline of 7 days. And then when the appeal court looked into the matter, the appeal court ruled that a state high court does not have the jurisdiction to entertain matters pertaining to the governor or to the state houses of assembly.
Okay.
The federal high court has exclusive reserve.
Because it's constitutional matter.
It's a constitutional matter. So the issue of the state high court does not even come to bear in this?
I believe that he had Attorney General at the time. I think it was Adango that guided him. So if he misled him, that was another issue. But now the pronouncement was
now
made.
You're insinuating.
Yeah, definitely. If he misled him, that was the issue, and he has to take the responsibility as the governor of the state.
All right.
But now, moving from there,
okay.
After all of those hula balloos, all of those angles and those issues, then we now had the 8-point agenda from Mr. President, which he implemented part and some were not holistically implemented. But then when the Supreme Court judgment came, which is what we are now standing on, he made efforts, several efforts, to present the budget, but it was either worked out upon, his mails were either not replied, or assembly was locked, or all of those things were happening. And at that point in time, the presidency stepped in with the emergency, then everything was shut down. But these are all the issues. But now we are now looking at the solution. So if you look at the states as it is today, and the peace that has been brokered now, and how it is going, I am telling you that it is something that is like a time bomb.
We are sitting on a keg of
gunpowder. A keg of gunpowder. That with time, it will be hotter and better and worse than what it is today. And we are talking about the overbearing interest of the FCT minister on the state. That is very glaring, everybody knows. The main thing he pronounced from Abuja as the reason for the crisis was that the governor was dismantling his structures, which is the council areas. And now, also from the grapevine that we have had as part of the agreements, the peace agreement, is that the council chairman who we are first will have to return to office. And already they are celebrating them on social media. And already some are already acclaiming the governor as their governor. So all of these processes are there. But when you serve as a godfather, it's not something that is bad. There is nothing you can become without you having a godfather. Even sometime for us to come on air, somebody must recommend you. I will recommend you to social studios to go and speak. They will not invite you from the studio. It's a form of godfatherism, which we call prebendal politics in core political language. So all of this put together, it's not something you become overbearing because you recommended me to a studio to invite me to speak on their station. You guide me on what I will say, what I shouldn't say, who I should talk to, who I shouldn't talk to. All of those things are overbearing. You allow me, you have given me the opportunity. But putting this together now, we are also hearing from the vineyard as part of the peace agreement that the suspended governor on return to office cannot go for 2027. So these are the structures and the situations that are on ground that the governor summarized into heavy and bitter.
Okay. Now well, when you were speaking earlier, Otto said hearsay. Otto, I'm very interested in that particular statement, and then any other reaction you have to the things he has said.
You see, he has made some point who I will intend to agree with him on some certain point, but on some certain points I tend to disagree with him. He has talked about overbearing, and you asked him a question, which I can still vividly recall. Was the governor under gunpoint? You see, I will always tell people that even when my father was alive, there was some certain discussion we have indoor that we cannot air to any other person, because he was my father and he entrusted me with so much responsibility, and I will keep it to myself. I will say, this is it. In my place, when a man dies and that man is regarded to be a great man, they bury him with tortoise on his chest. Do you know why? Because he's dying with so much secrets. Secret that might cause issues, secret that might escalate to war, secret that might even lead to disagreement. That is a man who is great. Now, he said unconstitutionality. And I want to ask, you asked a question too, based on all your, the governor dealt with the 27 assembly member. I don't want to go much into that details, because what we are preaching now is peace. And peace is what we desire in Rivers State, for Rivers State to move forward. If you watch what the governor was doing to the 27 lawmakers, you yourself will even have a heart of, your heart will bleed towards them. Some of them, their children were even chased out of school because they weren't paid for that 1 year. They weren't paid. No sitting allowance, no salary, nothing was given to them. They survived those processes. And now, when Supreme Court now made a pronouncement, the governor said, okay, I am going there. Only for him to go through the back gate. As I said, let's not go much into details about what happened, because all we are saying now is peace, and peace we must have. Now, he talked about the vineyard, everything coming out from the vineyard. You see, there is some talk we say, beer parlor talk. Something that you might just come on, maybe you say, oh, I heard that they gave him so thing to sign. What we are privy to only is the 8-point agenda. which was previously abandoned by the governor. And the 8-point agenda was made to the public. Now they felt maybe if we bring anything to the public again, it might even be an issue. It might even hinder the peace process. And now here we are again, going back to Egypt. People are still talking saying that, oh, we heard. You heard what? That the governor is not coming back for second tenure. How are you sure about that? You know, I was speaking to a friend before coming into the studio. He's in UK, and he was like, Otto, this piece, is it genuine? I said the piece is genuine. I have known Nyesom Wike for long. I grew up in his community from 1990 to this moment, around my precom. He was like our big brother. He's a man that once he has let go of anything he has, is from the bottom of his heart. And I feel the governor knows him better than any of us either, because they have worked together. And the governor, for accepting the responsibility of coming on board as the governor of Rivers State, might have known the gravity of what he's going into.
Exactly.
That is why I said we don't have to conclude, but for us to understand that these men spoke, they had an agreement inside the bedroom, just like the way I had an agreement with my father inside the bedroom. And here we are. He's the governor of Rivers State. He has been given responsibility to lead Rivers State as a number one citizen. What happened? If there's a sour in the relationship, he wouldn't have led to the disagreement of the governor and the assembly member. Because we are practicing decree in Rivers State instead of democracy. We will just wake up one morning and the governor will say, oh, decree 101, that the assembly members are gone. That is what we are seeing.
I think you are not picking the issues.
Yes.
The person that led Rivers State with decree is the FCT minister.
Excuse me. I allowed you. You talked about overbearing influence in Rivers State. If the FCT minister has an overbearing influence in Rivers State, I don't think an Opopo man will be the governor of Rivers State. Maybe possibly he would have still retained it. We have the likes of Tony Okocha, who is from Obiabo, who is capable to lead the Rivers State as well. We have Chidi Lloyd, who is from Emoha, who is capable of leading Rivers State. And these are equal men. He didn't see them worthy. He said, no, according to what we practice in Rivers State, let it go back to the riverine. And it was even a balanced equation, not just riverine, but the Jaws, because they were clamoring for it.
When you said the Jaws, one would wonder, the governor is from Opobo, yes?
He's an Ijaw man too.
Hold on. The governor is from Opobo.
Yes.
Let's look a little bit at that Ijaw conspiracy theory that has been spanning a long time. You recall when Amechi, when Dakuku Peter side had the blessing. Why are you looking at me like that? You recall when Dakuku Peter side had the blessing of Chibike Rotimi Amechi to be the governor of Rivers State. And Ijaw people came out to say that they do not recognize Dakuku Peter side as an Ijaw man. They said it, that Dakuku Peter side is not an Ijaw man. In fact, they had their differences with Opobo being part of Ijaw. And now, the governor, Fubara, the same Opobo man, comes from the same place as Dakuku Peter side. After he emerged as governor, Ijaw people suddenly now accepted that Opobo is part of Ijaw. I am looking at the hypocrisy of the statement of the INC and the IYC with regards to Opobo being Ijaw. How come Dakuku is not an Ijaw man, but he's from Opobo? And on the other hand, Siminalayi Fubara is an Ijaw man, and he's from the same Opobo.
You see, Loresha, there we have political undertone to it.
Interesting.
You understand? If you watch how the Nyesom Wike emerged as the governor of Rivers State, you understand that he had the backing of Ijaw, which the first lady of Nigeria then, Patience Jonathan, was so much interested in that movement. And that was what led to the Ijaw nation backing him up. So the Dakuku Peter side theory was all about trying to wave him off from the this thing, saying that he's not an Ijaw man, so that the Ijaw nation wouldn't support him, because their daughter, who happens to be the first lady of Nigeria, is in tandem or working with the FCT minister. Then he was the minister for education, state though, but you should understand that these are political interests, and that is why they say in politics there is no permanent friend, no permanent enemy. So there is but the interest is permanent.
In the case of Ijaw and Opobo, there is no permanent ethnicity.
Exactly.
Opobo people.
They were looking for who is going to serve the Ijaw nation, and they felt Fubara is going to serve the Ijaw nation.
Because
and
he's already the governor.
Yes.
Not because he was...
See, Laurentia, let me tell you something.
Yes.
Even I stayed in Igbo land. I stayed in Imo State for over 6 years. And I discovered some things. There is this tribe they call Osu. When an Osu man is so wealthy, the Osu seems to diminish. But when an Osu man doesn't have money, the Osu is so ambiguous, it's so visible. Everybody will see it that this is an Osu man. So this is the case. The governor was already installed as the governor. And the Ijaw nation don't want to be away from their son. They want to benefit from him, from their son. And they accepted and embraced their son. So for the overbearing issue he raised, I think the ex-governor wasn't overbearing. If you are called today, that please come, we have something to do, and you are offered to lead the Ogonis. I am not saying leading the Ogoni because Ogoni is an ethnic nation. Ogoni is well known in the country. To lead the Ogoni, possibly to see the presidency or to see the president. And on your way going to see the president, and they said, oh, Mr. Fineface, you are going to get this, or you are going to get this, or this incentive is around, or this one is around, but you are going to give us this one. You accepted. On getting to see the president, after the whole discussion and those incentives were eventually provided as being envisaged, and you come out to say, no, I'm not giving you people any incentive. This incentive was meant for the people. I won't do that. But when we are called upon to lead those people, there were people lining up to lead them, but you were found worthy and you agreed to the terms and conditions. Most of the companies will say apply. You agreed, and then all of a sudden you come out in the public to say, oh no, it's too big, I can't govern with my heart on the ground, I can't govern with my kidney off. These are issues we need to address. Now that is why we say let's jettison what has happened and look towards the future. And what is the future? The peace we have gotten today.
Now, talking about the future, Fineface holds a very different position, which, you know, one cannot sweep under the carpet. And he said that he feels that this peace is superficial and that Rivers State is sitting on a keg of gunpowder, which he said might manifest in 2027. What do you have to say to that?
The governor, if he feels the marriage was marriage of convenience, he would have actually resigned. Yes, I will say this and I will say it again. He would have resigned and say, no, I'm not doing again. But the governor find it worthy to sign, and he did. And if he says we are sitting on a keg of gunpowder, that 2027 it might manifest, I want to say no to it.
His concern is that the supporters of the suspended governor, to a large extent, right now, will be disgruntled. Because according to him, they are not being carried along in this reconciliation process. I hope I captured what you said.
You are correct.
Right.
And there is also something from the vineyard that will also let you know. Let me add one that is directly in line with what you are saying.
Okay, go ahead.
Another one that is directly in line with what you are saying is that those who were very vocal in the governments of the suspended governor are out of the table on this peace agreement.
No, I tend to disagree with you. I tend to disagree with him.
Okay, go ahead.
Do you know why I tend to disagree with him?
Go ahead.
Because it's not everything I will need to say on this particular place where we are.
If you say you disagree with him, you have to bring.
See, there is peace and there is ongoing peace. Reconciliation doesn't end that day.
Yeah, it's a process.
It's a process. Yeah. He understands what I'm saying. It's a process, and the process is still ongoing. The likes of, I know where you're coming from, the likes of Edison here, and the rest of them, they were so vocal. Even Ichemate of Faga was so vocal. Ihua of Obiakpo was so vocal.
One would be expecting you to call people like Uche Secondus, Abiye Sekebo.
These are people who we are in the government. You know, I'm coming. These are people who we are in the government. Austin Okpara, Uche Secondus, and the rest of them, they know their way around government. Nyesom Wike, His Excellency Nyesom Wike, is their friend. They know how to reconcile. They know where to meet. They might even have a bottle of drink tomorrow. We might not be there. The reason I'm calling on these young politicians who are making wave in their political career is because they were so vocal. And this person has been scheduled to have meeting with the FCT minister by the governor. That is why I say the peace process is ongoing.
How do you know they have been scheduled? Were you there? Did you see the schedule? Otto, because when you say things like this, you're speaking as if you're the FCT minister's aide. Have
you gone through most of the report on the print media?
Of course.
This morning, have you done that?
Both on print media and outside print media.
Okay, if you are so concerned about Rivers State peace, you see, people say social media is full of lies, you know.
But you have been saying that everything is hearsay.
It's hearsay.
The one that you just said,
I am telling you that the peace process is ongoing. He understands that peace doesn't just end in a particular sitting.
All right, very well.
I will like to reject the statement that some of the things I have said are hearsay. Because you don't know me and who I am.
Okay.
No. I am not condemning your person. I know you are a person. I am not trying to say we are in a table where your argument must not go against mine and mine must not go against you. But at the end, I want to be at the forefront.
Laurentia,
you want to be at the forefront?
Yes.
What you do is that some of the things we have said, I believe what we are saying is on record. We'll always come back to it online because it's streamed and all of that. With time, you will come to agreement with some of the things I have said. I am a very strong political analysis. I have a PhD in politics and international relations.
Yeah, right.
So most of the things I have said here are foundational. And let me just I know I'm on air, but let me just mention it to you that most of the key information I have about Nigeria, I get them from outside Nigeria, from diplomatic circle. From the diplomatic circle, where they give first hand. The agreements of the peace is not shared to anybody or anywhere, but I've seen a copy.
Now, I want to ask you a direct question with the last statement you made. When you said that the supporters of the suspended governor, the people who were very vocal, his strong men, are completely off the table in this peace negotiation. Now, the question would be, who is to blame for that? Let's just assume that what you're saying is true. Who is to blame for that? Is it not the governor that is supposed to carry his people along? Now, you recall that the first visit to the FCT minister's house was not even with PDP governors, but with APC governors, right? And so far, the governor has been making moves, the suspended governor has been making moves, and at no point did I read or see, or observe anywhere that he made any single move with any of these persons. So one would say, why didn't the governor carry his supporters along? Why didn't the governor carry, this elder statesman? Let's even leave the supporters. Let's talk about the elder statesman. Why didn't he carry them along in, this peace negotiation?
In every conflicting situation, if you liken it to the medical field, you have a doctor and a patient. In this Rivers conflict, the suspended governor is the patient, while the FCT minister is the doctor. So it's the doctor that will determine who you come to see me with. He's the one that will determine. If you even look at the meeting leading to the peace agreement, you don't see any strong men of the governor with him because they never allowed them to come in.
They never allowed them.
Exactly, because the doctor say he determines who will come. The governor was desperately determined to ensure there is peace in Rivers State. Because already Rivers State... Is
it to ensure there is peace or to return to office? There are two different things.
Yeah, there are two different things.
Two different motivations.
Yeah. In the first instance, is for there to be peace in Rivers State.
Really?
The other second motive, not really to return to office because of himself, but because of his supporters. That is why I put it a loaf of bread, half loaf. Now, he has said that his spirit has left government house. But when he sat down and looked at everything, he saw that...
Yeah, you with him when he was looking at...
Look, I read minds. I will read your mind. I will tell you what is going. And I will give example of what you have said leading to what you have done leading to what you have said.
Right.
When he sat down and looked at everything, he said, if I chicken out at this point in time, what about my supporters? For the sake of my supporters, let me take this half loaf. And that is why he came to the office with the heavy load. But he has to carry it on.
You know that you're sounding very emotional right
exactly,
now.
Exactly, because I listened to him.
Even when he was responding to me, he was so emotional.
The load is so heavy for him. And I blame him like what he said. I blame the governor for agreeing before the elections in 2023 that I will do ABCD, and then you violate it. And you are working with a man who said 99% is non-loyalty. It must be 100. So I blame the governor for whatever happened in Rivers State.
Well, at the end of the day, you know, like as you said, you're sounding so emotional.
Ma'am,
But
you are affected.
having had a doctorate in political analysis, like you have said, I would expect that you know better that politics has no business with emotions. It's about
No.
it's about
you see,
politics
we have
is
political
cold.
thought too.
We
have political thought as an angle of
Politics is
politics.
very, very cold.
I know.
And when you look at politics from, you know, a certain prism, it appears that you are removed from emotions, or you're not emotional, or you're not a Nigerian. But the truth of the matter is this. I think probably that could have been one of the things that have led the governor to, you know, the crisis he had. A lot of emotions where, you know, a lot of his actions were backed up by emotions. And most times when even his supporters speak, you would expect it to come from the angle of the constitution, from the angle of facts. But everything is about emotional blackmail and all of that.
Yeah,
so when one says, oh, the governor says for the, like I said, is he returning? You said he's coming back because of the people. And I'm asking, is it because of the people or because he needs to come back to office?
It's not.
But Otto was looking at you and smiling when you were speaking. I know.
It's not really because of the people
Otto
that
says he will not take a back
his
seat in this
supporters.
conversation. Otto.
Now we'll be at the forefront.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. You wanted to react to what he said.
If you
particularly
say,
when he was talking about the supporters not carrying them along.
The governor, as you said, was the patient. And the doctor was Nyesom Wike. You can't rule it out. Yeah. I tend to agree with him 100% on that.
Okay.
You see, when I had my medical issue, I wouldn't want to, my doctor doesn't have the right to disclose it to my parents. Yeah. He doesn't have the right. When I was asked and I was told that surgery will be carried out on me, I said, okay, this is the date I will do it. Just a day to the surgery, that was when I informed my people. I have my reasons for that. They might not be able to carry that news the way I will carry the news. They will be like, okay, Choi, what if something happened? But I don't want those negative thoughts in my head. Now, that is what the governor did. He doesn't want anybody to say, oh, this one no good, or this one no good, or what about if we go this way? He just wanted peace. I will agree with him on the fact that the governor was desperately seeking for peace. Yes, I am of the belief that the FCT minister is right in everything. But I will tell you the truth that the governor, in a way, had what it takes to do anything he feel like. Maybe resign and say, oh, I'm not it for it. But he said no, that I was brought here by the FCT minister to govern the state. He might come back, as he said, because of his people. Most especially, it might also be because of the civil servant. The largesse they have been receiving is costly because the governor was a civil servant before he became the governor.
His reaction is, the question I asked, finally,
I am coming.
Why did he not carry his support, particularly the elder statesmen that supported?
Now I want to tell you, if you watch one of the press briefing of the former governor, he said that the governor went back to people who said he can't be governor. That was one of his major reasons of fighting the governor. That he's not fighting the governor, but he's fighting them. So how will you expect the governor to bring those people that the FCT minister is fighting? It's impossible. It's not going to work. That means the peace process will collapse.
Now, let's look at this from a very different perspective. Now, yes, agreed. Some of these elder statesmen were backing the governor up, and the governor was a proxy for them, while the governor thought he was the one that was fighting, actually. But then, one would say, in the interests of peace, because if you're looking at peace, you look at it holistically. In the interests of peace, the governor could have gone, even if it's with one of them. You can't tell me that the governor would go with Dr. Peter Delay and the FCT minister will shut his door, even if he might choose not to, listen to the extent that will yield results, but he will not shut his door. And one would say, I am looking at this holistically because, like it or yes, there are elder statesmen. And in River State culture, regardless, Rivers men have a way of respecting their elders. Like it or yes. I do not see a situation where the suspended governor moves with Celestine Omehia and let's say Dr. Peter Odile, for example. I will just pick on Dr. Peter Odile, and you tell me, hold on, and no, hold on. I am saying that probably it will not work. But the truth of the matter is that that door will not be shut. Even that door will be open, even if it does not yield results. Right? Saying that the FCT minister is the doctor, the governor is the patient, because the governor is the person who desperately needs to return to office, not the FCT minister. One would say, if you're saying there is peace talk, one would be looking at making peace even beyond the FCT minister and the governor, but also between the FCT minister and the people he has been fighting with. Now, Dunamena is of the opinion that River State is sitting on a keg of gunpowder. In 2027, these people are still going to rise.
You see, Laresha, you made a point. You mentioned the likes of Dr. Peter Odili, Sir Celestine Omehia, which is Secondos, and the rest of them. Now, in the middle of the fight, are you aware that Dr. Peter Odili erased totally the name of Nyesom Wike in one of the halls in his Pamo University? So, do you think maybe possibly the governor had not made such suggestion and it didn't work? Or possibly you and I are not part of the peace process before now. We weren't there. So we can't rule out the possibility of the governor not making such suggestion. Or even if he has made such suggestion and they will say, no, these are the people we don't want around. These are the people who we are busy coercing you into this fight. These are the people who we are busy instigating you to fight more. We don't need them, because if they come, that means according to Mr. Fineface or Dr. Fineface rather.
This now, how then are you are contradicting yourself by also saying that peace is a process?
See, I am not contradicting myself. Hold on, I am not contradicting myself. Okay, if you say I'm contradicting myself, that means I am off the point totally in this program.
You're not actually.
No, I mentioned name before I told you that is on the process. Okay. Now, these are new set of persons you've mentioned. I am trying to tell you what might not even be realistic in this new set of persons you've mentioned, in the likes of Sir Celestine Omehia, Dr. Peter Odili, and the rest of them. You understand? These are persons you've mentioned, and they are not likely to be invited in those peace process because they see them as instigators. And when you see people as instigators, you don't call them in for something that you want to resolve. You don't. So that is my point. And I don't think I was totally off the point. You understand? Dr. Fineface made a point, and I am aligning myself totally to it. You might not, we weren't there, and we don't know the conditionality given to the governor on his return. So that is why I said most of the things he said he heard from the vineyard, I am not ruling out the possibility, because most information, while I was outside Nigeria then schooling, I discovered that before anything will even happen, we get the first-hand information.
You're right.
Before they will even see it, we have seen it and we say, oh, it will happen, and it will happen that way. So I don't doubt him. If he belongs to international community's platform, the possibility is there. Because there are persons who is even around the presidential villa who will just, oh, my friend, see this thing on, we see and hear. And those people in the presidential villa will fail to understand that most of the persons that come close, they have international affiliations.
You're right.
You understand? So he might see it, but for me, I have not seen it. And even if I have seen it, it's just a hearsay.
Even if you have seen it,
it's just a hearsay. Yes, because I am not certain that is the document.
All right, very well, gentlemen. Now, what it means at the end of the day, because we need to move
peace.
We need to move on to APC impending crisis. So, gentlemen, what it means is that the peace in Rivers State is fragile.
It's not.
You say it's fragile.
Yeah, it's fragile. You can also see it in the studio here. It's fragile.
Okay. He says it's fragile.
It's not
you
fragile.
say it's not fragile.
It's not
well,
fragile.
interesting times ahead. We'll still bring you the story.